Dr. Joseph Kanu understands that one way we can honor God is by being as healthy as possible. Dr. Joe believes modern science proves the healing abilities of remedies found in Scripture, and as a practicing chiropractor, blends those biblical truths with cutting-edge technology to enrich his patients' lives physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Welcome to Simple Truths for Healthy Living with Dr. Joseph Kanu. Listen for the next 30 minutes as Dr. Joe shares tips to help you live the healthy life God intends for you. To be a part of the show, call 313-838-1035. That's 313-838-1035. And now your host, Dr. Joe.
I can really answer. Okay.
Well, welcome everyone. This is Dr. Joseph Kanu of Rochester Chiropractic, and our show is Simple Truths for Healthy Living. And we have a wonderful guest with us again tonight because Wednesday nights are Dr. Haddad nights. Welcome to the show, Dr. Jeff.
Dr. Joe, it is great to be here as always. I love the introduction. It makes me feel so welcome.
Yes, I really missed you last week. You know,
well, I'm sure you had a great time seeing our nation's capital.
Yes, that was an honor. And
you know, I'll tell you, you would have enjoyed the show because I had one of my key team members, Katie, on, who is our hygienist, and talked about the stuff that you love, the connection between, oral health and the body. And
it wasn't about cosmetics?
It was not about cosmetics. That's why you would love it. It was all about how a healthy mouth equates to a healthy body, and it was really good.
That.
Katie did a great job educating, and it was a good show.
Well,
really
I'm going to go to our website, simpletruthsforhealthyliving.net. You can go to our website or your website.
That's true. Yeah, correct. RochesterAdvancedDentistry.com. We actually have all our radio archives there as well. So it's
awesome.
It's a good way for people to maybe catch up if they missed it.
Yes, that's awesome. Hey, Dr. Jeff, I'd like to start with a scripture reading.
Okay.
Okay.
Please do so.
So this is James chapter 3. This is a good one, especially for dentists. The power of the tongue. Okay, not many of you should become teachers, for you realize that we will be judged more strictly, for we all fall short in many respects. If anyone does not fall short in speech, he is a perfect man, able to bridle his whole body also. If we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we also guide their whole bodies, right? Isn't that kind of interesting?
Yeah.
We put bits in the mouth of the horse, and you got this big, huge, strong horse, and it guides the whole body of the horse. It's the same with ships. Even though they are so large and driven by fierce winds, they are steered by a very small rudder, wherever the pilot's inclination wishes. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You got this whole big, huge ship and a little rudder, right? And it's kind of like our tongue. Guides us to good places or bad. In the same way, the tongue is a small member and yet has great pretensions.
I feel like you said I would like this. Are you saying I have a big mouth?
Let me continue. Yeah. Consider how small a fire can set a huge forest ablaze. The tongue is also a fire. Exists amongst our members, a tiny, word it can set this whole ablaze, good blazes and bad blazes. But anyways, with that, I want to talk about, we talked about a couple of shows ago about mouth guards.
Yeah, we had a great caller who actually asked some good questions about it.
We had a great caller call about mouth guards, and then you and I sitting down after the show till about midnight.
Right.
I did not realize you are such an expert in mouth guards. And all the famous people that you've come and made mouth guards for. I was just floored.
Well, it's kind of funny how that all happened. I've been taught to make a custom mouth guard ever since dental school. I was at University of Michigan, and we were making them for our actual football team. So I always knew the importance of a custom mouth guard. But then we started probably about 5-6 years ago. We started making these very custom fit, high-end mouth guards for a lot of professional athletes. In fact, I went to the ESPYs, which is the ESPN sporting event every single year for about 3 years, and I had the opportunity to fit a lot of great athletes. I mean,
like who?
well, I mean, Terrell Owens back in the day. I mean, he's probably one of the most amazing athletes I've ever seen. We made his personal mouth guard. Braylon Edwards, one of my heroes from University of Michigan, when he was on the Browns, we made him and Brady Quinn their mouth guards. Actually, an unbelievable sports star, Cristiano Ronaldo. Any soccer fans out there? This guy is probably one of the biggest, sports stars in the world. But the United States barely knows him because we're just not big soccer people, right? But we made one for him, and so it made me realize, if athletes to that caliber are worried about not only protecting their teeth, protecting their jaws, but having almost a performance-enhancing mouth guard, again, the layman needs to realize how important that is. And I stress that with all my patients. I know tonight is about educating. It's about, good blazes, right, with our tongues, right? And so I want people after today's show to realize not only how important these mouth guards are, but what they do, why they work, and who should be wearing them. These are very important things, because I know you're thinking the hockey players and the football players, but I like to talk about some other sports that maybe you don't think about as a true contact sport.
I would like to get into that too. Like
Perfect.
Because we all know boxing, hockey.
Right.
We talked about preventing concussions.
Of course.
I mean, more so than just, but who else? Kids wise. Is it just sport professionals?
Not at all. No. To be honest, kids. A lot of parents are obviously listening right now, and there's a lot of sports that are pretty common sense that you should wear a mouth guard. Again, your footballs, your hockeys, lacrosse. Soccer is a big one too. You take a knee to a chin. In fact, I had a beautiful girl who was a goalie. A young goalie.
Wow, every goalie should have a mouth guard.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, she came to me. She wears one now, but she had 2 teeth actually knocked out where we had to do root canals and crowns, and it was just an absolute mess. And so that's a sport. But I'll tell you, there's sports out there that are really, I would say, non-contact, but really are becoming big mouth guard wearers. Basketball. A big one. I'm sorry, listen. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a very short man. I never really had a chance at basketball, but I'm a hard player, and I want to win. I don't care what it is. And I got hurt more in basketball than any other sport. You take an elbow to the chin. Everything, right? So, and you notice that NBA players, probably in the last 5 years, how many more NBA players. In fact, one of the people that colleagues and myself made for mouth guard was Shaq. And Shaq saw the value. And in fact, if you remember, his last couple of years, him at the foul line, he would have a big smile, and there would be this big custom mouth guard that we made him.
So you made Shaq.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
You guys listening out there? Dr. Haddad made a mouth guard for Shaq. Yeah. So you must have charged him a little more than the average.
It was a little more expensive.
Took a little more material, probably.
Oh,
right?
Good Lord! I didn't even think about that. Right? That's a good point. No, and it's so basketball. But I'm gonna tell you, there's even other sports that people still don't think about. BMX riding. How about this? Downhill skiing.
Downhill skiing.
I have a great story. Another one of my, gems, I guess, that I had the opportunity to know and to work with and to make a personal mouth guard was Lindsey Vonn, who's a World Cup, downhill skier.
One of my favorite downhill skiers.
Oh, she's great. And
I love downhill skiing.
She's a great person,
but
too.
I don't wear one for skiing. I'm going to start.
I'll bet you didn't wear a helmet for many years either,
Can I
did
tell
you?
you something? I only started wearing a ski helmet about 3 years ago.
Shame on you.
I feel like one of those old-time hockey players that never wore a helmet.
Right.
And now the little kids were wearing them, and now these little kids are now the professional hockey players, so we see them wearing helmets. But mouth guards.
I think that's a perfect analogy, though. Think about how many people and kids wear helmets now. My daughter is 4 years old. My son is 2. They wear helmets when they go on their little bikes with training wheels.
Sure.
And it's kind of the standard of care now, right? And that's really what mouth guards should be for,
I never wore one, but I'm a big biker, mountain biker. I mountain bike at Stony Creek, down the trail.
Right.
I just started wearing a helmet biking about 4 or 5 years ago. We never wore helmets as kids. But mouth guards, I never thought to wear the mouth guard?
Let's talk about that. I think that's a good point.
Is that like are we over protecting ourselves?
I don't think you can overprotect because, I think a lot of people, when they think of a mouth guard, they think, oh, yeah, it's just my tooth. If I break a tooth, I don't care. Well, first and foremost, you should care because you break a tooth, you're talking not only thousands of dollars in a lot of instances,
right,
but you're talking
the
about
expense.
Like
this little girl who played soccer,
right,
knocked her front teeth.
Well, how about
out,
this?
right?
The expense, obviously,
for the rest of her life.
For the rest of her life. Dental work doesn't last forever. It's a continual thing for her. And more importantly, she came to me in pain. Yes. You break a tooth off and need a root canal, that is not a fun situation for anybody.
No.
So to avoid pain teeth-wise, to avoid destruction teeth-wise, that's an important thing. But let's take it to the next level. Concussions, which you talked about. The damage that can be done from a concussion or a jaw fracture that can occur from a blow. These are very serious things, and I see these on a regular basis for people who aren't wearing their mouth guards. A concussion. The reason a concussion happens is that the number one blow, if you will, in a contact sport or non-contact sport, whatever, is having the mandible, which is your lower jaw, your chin, getting driven up towards your skull. And I know you know this, but for those of you listening, your lower jaw is only held in by muscles. So you take a blow to the chin, you are literally having your jaw get pushed up into your skull. There's very, very delicate tissue, and there's actually a disc up there that if it gets ruptured, displaced, bruised, you're going to be in a world of pain.
Right.
And
permanently compressed.
You got it.
Right.
And I mean, you could cause head injuries, severe brain injuries, and let's say it doesn't. Let's say you get away with it. Well, the bruising there can be so severe that you're not even able to bring your teeth together without hurting. Okay?
Right.
And actually,
that's the start of bite problems, right?
Severe ones. I mean, TMJ issues. I see TMJ disorders occur because of accidents every day.
An injury.
How
many of us have not gotten hit under the chin,
right,
or fallen on under the chin?
Yeah, I mean it's a very common thing, and
yes.
so
it's not just for breaking teeth. The main reason you wear this sports guard is for concussions or
another one, jaw fractures.
Here's
a good tip for people because I know that first and foremost, if you ever get a blow like that, please get to your dentist. That's the first thing. Whether you think you're okay or not. If you are sore in that area, because they need to take an x-ray, a panoramic x-ray, to make sure that there's no displacement of the discs like we talked about or a jaw fracture. A very good tip, and I always test this when a patient comes in, is if you can bring your teeth together and if your bite feels the way it did. Because if it didn't, there's a good chance there's an actual jaw fracture. Usually at the angle of the jaw there where, your chin starts to go up and curve around in the back, the ramus.
Sure.
That's a very common fracture for people. And again, if that happens, let me tell you something. The recovery on that is not an easy one. So then you go back to, are mouth guards worth it? I think so.
Yes.
To avoid something like that,
Sure.
I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, so it is very important for our kids, like we're wearing helmets.
Right.
But just as important, I would say, as a helmet is the mouth guard.
That's how I feel so strongly about it.
Yeah.
That
as you
because
said, the teeth coming together, causing permanent brain damage,
yeah.
concussions. As we see so many football players now, they're only allowing them to have a certain amount of concussions.
That's a big thing.
I was at the Golden Gloves fight and saw Tommy Hearns backstage with Dr. Jim Lorenz. He treats Tommy and all these professional boxers.
Right.
And it's amazing to see some of these older boxers how they talk.
Yeah,
now,
you're right.
Not cool.
No, you don't know, and I mean it's
long-term damage.
You got it.
And that might not show up for 10. Like you said, you have a jaw injury. It might not show up for 10, 20 years.
Right. No, and you accommodate. We've talked about that a lot of times. The human body can accommodate amazingly, but when it finally gets pushed over that edge, where the pain bucket is filled to the rim and it finally flows over, you're going to regret not taking that extra step, that little investment to protect your teeth, especially when you're involved in sports like this,
or especially your children,
right?
Of
course.
So for biking, hockey, You said skiing, any
I mean,
physical,
horseback riding. I mean,
yeah,
you think about
horseback riding,
any activity that you think that. I mean, why would you not? I mean,
basketball. I mean, we should. So anytime you should wear a helmet too,
if you can.
You should have a mouth guard.
I believe that.
A protective mouth. So now, what about going to the store and just getting one off the shelf?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's
compared to your custom-made ones.
It's a great question, and there's two types of store-bought ones, and not only is this my opinion, it's pretty much considered a fact in this arena. They've got these stock guards that you can buy, not the boil and bite ones, but these stock ones. Pretty much, it's been proven that they have little or no effectiveness when we're talking about it. So please, they're $5. There's a reason they're $5, and there's a real issue with that if you're going to just invest in that. Now, the boil and bite mouth guard, it's a little bit better, but again, these are not custom. So if there's any sloppiness there, if they're not fit, appropriately, you're not going to have the proper protection. So again, I'm a dentist. I see what happens when people wear some of these inexpensive mouth guards. Again, I don't believe it's worth it. The ones that we make at our office, on average, they're about $75. I think it's pretty reasonable considering the thousands of dollars or the pain or suffering really that could occur if you weren't wearing one.
Right.
And that was the way I was always taught. And in all of my research, there's nothing that has been shown that is as good store-bought as a custom fit guard.
Custom.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, there's just not.
If from a blow, right? A blow, you want to make sure the fit is custom.
No question.
And how expensive? Are we talking $500, $800? How much for these?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, they're out there. Believe me. I think that a good average.
How much is yours?
The ones about $75.
$75. That's nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
That's what a decent helmet should be.
Right.
So a decent helmet should be $100. I mean, mine $150.
Right.
And that should fit properly.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, it's very important to have a helmet that fits properly. Now, the $75, because I'm sure if we get into material, I'd like to cover that.
Okay.
Because we've got about 10 minutes here.
All right.
I'm going to cover this whole gamut.
I love it.
Now, if we're talking about material, the store-bought material, like drinking out of plastic water bottles. You know how bad that is.
Right.
And
depending on the plastic, different levels of plastic, right?
Different levels of plastic in this. Bisphenol A, we call it BPA.
Yeah.
Okay, that can leach into your body,
right.
So you don't want to wear a store-bought mouth guard.
I'll tell you, I wish my wife was listening right now because she that is something that she's very passionate about. I mean, to a point where she was doing the research on which water bottles didn't have the cheaply made, the plastics that had that. And so, no, I'll tell you, in my research, it has been shown that, and there's studies coming out every day, but it's these inexpensive mouth guards that have the highest potential of the BPA leaching out. It's not the custom materials that we use. We use better materials, more stable materials than, common sense. You're going to think about if it's that cheap. It's cheaper to make because these people need to make money, unfortunately. So there's little overhead when if you're charging $5, probably only cost them 50 cents to make.
Yeah.
What can you really make for 50 cents? So no, that's a good question and probably something that a lot of people don't think of really. Yes. But that's another reason maybe to stay away from those over-the-counter products.
Yeah. So if you're worried about an injury, and we should be.
Yeah.
Right. Anything to the head.
Right.
Your brain is the central computer, right, that controls everything, the brain and spinal cord. So you need to have a helmet that's custom fit, fits properly your kids. And number two, the bite guard, and it's very important what you're saying to have it fit properly and be of decent material.
Yeah,
that's not leaching into your. Otherwise, it could actually create a problem, could it, if the bite guard didn't fit properly?
Well, sure.
It's going to subluxate.
Absolutely.
The condyles where your jaw.
If it's driving your condyles back, not only is that going to put extra pressure on the condyles, the discs, the glenoid fossa, but you can also think about this: close off your airway. Okay, this is
Wow.
all right.
That's another big thing.
I mean, and athletes, they need their air.
They need
and
as
in
much
fact,
oxygen,
these
right?
custom fit mouth guards that we were making for all these other athletes, our mouth guard actually positioned them in a more forward posture. So not only was it more protective of their joints, if they did take a blow, we're putting them down into a more forward-centered posture so that there was more cushion.
More cushion.
Okay,
Beautiful.
but it also opened up their airways. Every one of them
enhanced their performance.
That's correct. And that's
what boxers have you done?
You
I know it's a little off
well,
topic.
you know what? Actually, it was funny. I guess the only one that and it was kind of after his time, he was making a little comeback, was Evander Holyfield.
Holyfield.
Yeah, good old Evander.
Wow.
But yeah, it wasn't when he was fighting Tyson by any means.
No.
It was well after the time, but it's kind of cool. It was very cool to meet a lot of these people, and
I loved him and his whole attitude when he fought Tyson. That was great.
I think my favorite really was meeting Michael Phelps. And he was just a cool guy, and it was so funny.
Now,
because
why would he?
Well, you know, it's funny. I actually made one for Peter Vanderkay, who is a hometown Rochester guy, right?
Right.
Olympian swimmer.
Sure.
And because a lot of these custom guards, it's not only for contact, but it's for performance and it's for airway. It opens up their airway. As a swimmer, that's a very important thing. Michael Phelps asked me, he's like, well, you know, is this something that would help me? And me and my partner said, honestly, we're not going to touch you. You are perfect the way you are. There's nothing that we can do to improve you. I mean, he is built to swim. You look at his jaw posture, he is already wide open, and I mean, he is a specimen. But yeah, we said, you know what, we don't want to mess with perfection here. So, but he was a really cool guy. But yeah, I mean, you know, so you think about just the added benefits of some of these things, and then you wonder, all right, why would I not make the investment? Why would I not consider the protection? And again, we have a lot of parents listening, but we have a lot of adults listening right now that, you know, are still playing hockey. Okay, I know I do. Sure. I know you do.
Or like you said, or basketball, which I love. And likewise, besides ankle sprains, but getting hit in the jaw or the face, or you look at Rip Hamilton,
right,
with the nose. But what about the jaw?
Yep. Yeah.
Creating concussions and jaw bite problems, and then now you're developing sleep apnea or something like that.
Who knows? Right? You know, and that's really what I think people just need to know that. Sure. It's a very small investment that could avoid.
$75 is a small investment.
You're going to kick yourself if you break a tooth, and it's thousands of dollars. Sure. You know, you really will. You'll regret it.
Let alone concussion. So now, Jeff, I want to get to a couple of. We covered toxic material.
Yep.
Okay. With the cheaper guards.
Right.
And now how to clean. I'd like to cover how to clean them, but also night guards. You talked about night guards before.
For grinding.
For grinding.
Right.
The night guards for grinding and the sports guard that you have. What's the difference between? And can you have one bite guard for both purposes?
I'm so glad you brought it up. That's a great question. The answer is no. It is a resounding no, and there's a reason for it. Okay. Not because I want to make a bunch of different guards for people, but a lot of people. My guesstimate is that 80 to 90% of the people grind their teeth to some degree. I am a huge grinder. I've said that before. I've been wearing a night grinding guard for probably 12 years. And by one, I mean I've probably gone through 5 of these things. I just destroy them. But I'd rather be destroying them than my teeth.
Sure.
Now, a lot of patients that I talk to and say, you know what, I really recommend about my mouth or a night guard. They're expensive, you know. They can be around $600 for a true grinding guard.
For a night guard.
A night grinding guard. And a lot of people say, well, why can't I just go and buy an over-the-counter sports guard? Here's why, people. Please do not do this. These are completely different materials. The mouth guard that you're buying over the counter, a sports guard, even the sports guards that we make, it's a soft material. It's cushioned to absorb a blow. The grinding guard is a hard acrylic. If you were to wear a sports guard, a sports mouth guard, a soft rubber guard at night, your brain will treat it as food. Now, you're going to have your teeth protected, but you are going to grind more than you've ever ground your teeth in your life.
It's like chewing gum.
You got it. And you're going to
play with it.
Correct. And you're going to put so much stress on your TMJ joints, your facial muscles. In fact, I've had patients that either did it without my knowledge or actually did despite me recommending against it, and actually threw themselves into a big headache and jaw pain spiral because they thought, I'm going to save some money and I'm just going to put this in. Please do not do that. In fact, I tell people that if you cannot afford a true grinding guard, wait until you can. You're better off not wearing one than going to the store and wearing some kind of a sports mouth guard. So I'm glad you brought that up. It is night and day different material, and it's for completely different purposes. And grinding is that's as much instruction as anything.
Our acrylic night guard does not induce you to chew it constantly, chew on it.
In fact, your body actually gives up after a while. Yeah. You can't interdigitate your teeth, and it's so hard. You slide around on this, and you literally almost give up. Your brain will give up, and it relaxes, and you get the relief you need. Your teeth are protected. Your facial muscles get a break. The tension goes away. A lot of people with morning headaches. If you have morning headaches, there is something going on while you're sleeping, and I'm going to tell you, I bet my bottom dollar that 9 out of 10 people who have morning headaches are grinding at night. They just don't realize it. That's a very common thing, and I'm going to tell you, I was that person. I didn't believe I ground my teeth at night, and I cannot sleep without mine. They are so comfortable, and believe me, if you're even considering it, do it for yourself.
So that's the big difference.
That's a huge difference.
The night guard is hard acrylic, so it doesn't induce biting and constant biting and firing of your facial muscles.
Correct.
So you can be in a rested state. And then the sports guard, you said, is thicker, softer, more cushiony.
Cushion to absorb that blow. And you asked about cleaning. We can even cover on both of those. The way to clean any appliance, the best way of doing it is soap and water, okay?
Wow.
Not every night. What I tell people, whether it be a sports guard, that you're using, rinse it under water as much as you can. Just don't let your saliva get on it because bacteria flourishes, okay?
Sure.
God, I think back to my hockey days and me just throwing my mouth guard in my hockey bag and it just sitting there. It just grosses me out, okay? But, don't do that. And the same thing with a night grinding guard. At least rinse it out. And what I do is every few days I will just take a little soap and water, little soft soap, clean up, and that will disinfect anything. It'll clean everything, and you're going to take very good care of any appliance that you have. I think it's just a rule of thumb. Any appliances you ever have that you put in your mouth, soap and water is the key.
So that doesn't wear them out then.
Correct.
It cleans all the bacteria.
Stay away from rubbing alcohols. Stay away from peroxides. You just don't know. It could eat that material. It could destroy your appliance. It sounds like you're doing a good thing.
Yes.
You could very well be doing a bad thing. So.
Well, Jeff, we are out of time, unfortunately. So this sports guard, you said $75, not a big deal. No. All your kids should have them.
I think so.
Really. And anyways, I want to just say you can listen to the show, simpletruthsforhealthyliving.com, or call Dr. Haddad at 248-656-2020, Rochester Advanced Dentistry. And until we see you tomorrow night, remember, in all things that you eat, drink, or do all things to the glory of God. Have a wonderful evening.
Monday through Friday from 10:30 to 11 for another edition of Simple Truths for Healthy Living with Dr. Joseph Kanu.
The content on this program is for sharing general information purposes only. It is subject to change with ongoing research. It is not meant to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure anything. Dr. Kanu encourages you to make your own healthcare decisions based upon your own research and in partnership with a qualified healthcare professional of your choice.